Hi everyone and welcome back. It's Mindy here with you today, and I'm very excited to be sharing another release product from the Simon Says Stamp DieCember release. This is the Picture Book Panda. So I'm going to take it out and show you how this comes, and this is just showing the panda head. This is a super cute image. And the first thing I'm going to do is die cut this from some white cardstock. This is Neenah Solar White cardstock, 80 pound. Next, I'm creating some of the colored elements of my panda. So I'm going to be using some pink cardstock for the nose. And I'm also using some slate cardstock for the eyes of the panda and the ears. I decided to go with that instead of the black, but you could definitely use black or even purple, pink. You can do whatever you want with your panda, but I just kind of stuck to the normal colors. Next, I'm taking another piece of white cardstock and I'm tracing the die on this. Then I'm going to go ahead and just trim out around that outline. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just needed a base to be able to glue all of these pieces on. So I'm actually going to start off with the ears, getting those attached first. And it's a good idea to just kind of line them up, make sure that you have them in the right side before gluing them down. And this is using the Simon Says Stamp Tacky glue and my tweezers, which just seem to help keep my fingers out of the way for the smaller pieces. And I didn't trim the greatest on that white piece, so I do come in and trim that up later. That's not a big deal. So for the head, you could see I noticed that there were some white pieces sticking out from my base that I created, so I'm just going to come in, snip that down, and then I can bring the head back in and I'll get that attached next. So just using the tacky glue, running some glue around there. You could also probably use some stick-it adhesive to do this too if you prefer, but the glue is just as easy to attach it with. And like I said, little pieces to trim off on the edges there. And for the nose, just sticking that right down the middle, you could use your slate colored cardstock to do that. I just thought the pink was a really cutesy touch to it. And then the eyes, you want to make sure you have these lined up right. This one didn't quite fit, and you'll be able to tell once you kind of work with it. This one, yeah, it was supposed to go on the other side, but when I'm creating it and I'm looking kind of down, it was a little hard. If I had my nose closer to the image, I would have noticed that right away. But I hadn't pushed it down, so I could pick that up and move that right away. And this is such a cute panda. And I just wanted to show you what that would have looked like with that darker cardstock. Next, I'm going to start working on the rest of my card. So I'm using the nested hearts die from Simon Says Stamp. And I'm taking a piece of sea glass cardstock and just lining that heart in the middle of the cardstock. I want to cut out a window for this, so I'm using the Post-it tape to hold that down and run that through my die cut machine. And this is just going to be the window that my panda peeks through. You could also turn this into a shaker card if you wanted. So I'm going to be also bringing in this beautiful rainbow pattern paper. This is from the Fawn Really Rainbow Paper Pack. And I'm going to just go ahead and attach that to my card base, which is using the Neenah Solar White cardstock. That's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I used the Gina K tape runner to attach that down. I knew I wasn't going to do much more with that, so I was okay taping down the rainbow paper pack. For my sentiments, I'm using the Besties stamp set from CZ Design over at Simon Says Stamp. So I'm using that sentiment. I'm going to stamp it onto some black cardstock with some Simon Says Stamp clear ink, making sure to prep my cardstock with an anti-static powder tool so I remove any grease or static that could be on the cardstock. And then I'll just stamp that down, sprinkle on some white embossing powder, and then just making sure that I don't have embossing powder where I don't want it. If I do, I can always come in with a paintbrush and just brush away any little specks that remained. Then I'll go ahead and just heat that up with my heat tool. I kind of heat it up from the back and the front to just help move it along quicker. Now, one of the great things is that there's also a coordinating die that goes with this stamp set. So I'm going to use that to die cut out the Besties sentiment. And that's going to go towards the bottom of my heart on the card. So I lined up another sentiment that's from the same stamp set. This is going to say, "Let's be." So once I get that not sticking to my fingers, I can close the lid of my MISTI to pick that stamp set up. And then I'm going to use some Lawn Fawn black licorice ink. And I will do this twice just to make sure it really stands out on that blue cardstock. So here's just getting an idea where all of that's going to go. I'm happy with all the placement. So I want to go ahead and get my panda attached first. And I'm going to place the panda head down below. Since there isn't a body to this, I wanted it to appear that there may be a body. So I'm just going to tuck that down. Just putting some liquid adhesive towards the bottom and lining up my panda head. I'm going to go ahead and attach that. Once my placement is good. And then I wanted to add a little bit more dimension to my card. So I'm going to go ahead and line the entire back of this with some foam tape. I do like to cover all of it because then if I mail it, there's not going to be any lumpy spots. It's going to be completely all one layer with the foam tape. This is using the Big Mama roll from Simon Says Stamp, and I've had this roll for a really long time, and I use it all the time, so it goes a long way. Now I did go ahead and cut 2 more of those Besties sentiment just to have that stacked up a little bit for some more dimension. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and remove all the backing to my foam, and I'm going to attach this to my rainbow paper. And I just love how cheerful and happy this card feels with that panda peeking through and the rainbow background. And then I'll go ahead and get that Besties attached right under where my Let's Be sentiment is stamped. So really simple, and then I just kind of wiped away any little glue that might have seeped over. And then for a little finishing touch, I'm just adding some Nuvo shimmer pen to the nose to give it a little bit of sparkle and top it off with some crystal glaze. So as always, I will have the supplies listed down below in the video description and also on my blog. I really hope you enjoyed today's card. This is such a fun, cheerful card to give to a friend. If you did like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Thank you again for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.